What is one secret you have never told your parents and still don't plan on telling? Voiced by Reddit Rabbit. My grandmother had a collection of fairly expensive rings, and when she died, she left one to every woman in the family. I was 13 and told not to wear mine out of the house because it was a bit loose on me. I did and lost it within a month of her death. Every now and then, my mom asks about it, and I'm just like, yeah, it's in a box in one of my drawers. I don't wear it because I don't want to lose it. When I was a junior in college, I lived off campus with 5 other guys in a shady neighborhood. One Tuesday night, while a few of us were high and watching TV, a couple thugs busted our door, broke in, and robbed us at gunpoint. They were looking for a drug dealer. It turns out they had the wrong house. The dude from whom everyone at school bought their weed, coke, and pills lived one house over. None of us ratted him out because that would have brought more trouble. These guys tore our place apart looking for our non-existent stash, and when they couldn't find anything, they grabbed some random worthless decorations, getting antsy to bounce. One of my roommates, big, burly, but usually reserved, grabbed one of the guys as they were leaving. He must have snapped. The thug turns around and lets 2 shots fly that both hit my friend, one in the leg, the other in the gut. He lived but was in the hospital recuperating for a month. None of us were able to recover from what happened, so after the short, fruitless investigation was over, we withdrew from school and went home. I stayed until the end of the semester. When I went home, I just told my parents that I wanted to transfer to a school closer to home. I never told them why I made that decision. I have 2 younger brothers. I didn't want my parents to be afraid to send them away to school. I didn't want my brothers to be afraid to leave home and explore. Edit. Holy cannoli, this kind of thing happens a lot more at college campuses than I realized. For those wondering how my parents haven't found out, this was 15 years ago. AEM was social media. I've told friends and cousins, but the story never made it back to my parents. When I was like 10 to 12, I threw a soccer trophy at my door during a tantrum. It put a hole in my side, but not all the way through. I stuck a bumper sticker for my favorite college team over it. I'm 28, and it's still there. That the month I was living a month in Spain was actually spent in jail. I had friends to post fake Instagram pictures for me too. Edit. Wow, would never expect such a response. Since so many of you have been asking here some more info, I was sentenced to 1 month for DUI, and the month I was supposed to do my sentence happened to be at the same time as I was actually going to Spain for a month. So instead of traveling to Spain, I went to jail. No questions ever asked for my family. Now I knew my friends would notice, so I had to tell them, and they were the best and helped me keeping this a secret. This was the first and last time I had ever been into any trouble. Most awkward bit was to figure out excuses for not driving the following year. I put my foot through my bedroom door after I lost an online match on UFC 09. The guy kicked my ass and then PM'd me abuse, so I went berserk. I told my dad it was over a girl who faked pregnancy with me and that she was phoning me. Truth is, I hadn't spoken to her in months and didn't want to admit it was over a video game. That I got lost in the woods hiking. The police had to rescue me. It was a whole big scene. I texted them with the little battery life I had on my phone and told them I was staying at a friend's so that they wouldn't worry. The police eventually found me, and I got home at 5 a.m. They thought I was at a friend's, and I've never told them the story. Edit. As soon as I realized I was lost, I immediately called the police. I lied to my parents because I didn't want them to freak out, and I needed the phone battery to talk to the people trying to find me. My parents are dead now, but at the age of 12, I somehow met up with an adult neighbor and got to going next door to help him program an early home PC with a game. 1978-ish. It was interesting, and he begun taking me for McDonald's occasionally, something my parents would never have done. As some of you might have guessed, he was grooming me. I'm a guy, by the way. I had keys to his flat, and being a nosy bugger found his stash of prawn and his hidden stash of Dutch CP. Was legal in Holland back then, apparently, although he was acting illegally having it in the UK. A part of me understood what was going on, but it fought the side of me that was being treated nicely. For whatever reasons, I went along with it and things got to kissing. After a short while, I kind of got used to that, but didn't like what I was doing or felt I had become. Eventually, he tried to put his hand down my trousers, and that was it. I stormed out and never spoke to him again. He moved away after about a year. I never told my parents out of shame. It got even worse because after a while I realized the signs must have been obvious to them. They took very little interest in making sure I was okay, and everything was straight. In retrospect, they were fucked up and let their apathy rule them. I hid it from them and everyone. There was a point a few years later when my mother alluded to the possible grooming scenario. In a group of people, incredibly. She said something along the lines of, "Idiot Chicken was a bit strange a few years ago. It revolved around that guy next door. I reckon he tried something on and you didn't like it?" Internally, I was gobsmacked, rendered speechless. but on the face of it, I appeared nonchalant. I brushed it off and made my excuses and left the room, went to somewhere private and bawled my eyes out. I felt trapped. I'd been abused, my parents appeared not to care very much, and seemingly wanted to discuss it only in company. My mid-teen self didn't understand how this could be either fair or normal, yet the implications of telling my story seemed too huge to accept. Police, courts, telling my story publicly, my parents' ineptitude and lack of moral compass, so I never told them or anyone else. I plotted my own death and got past that. I plotted the abuser's death and got past that. I plotted a confrontation and the thoughts of how I would blackmail him for years until he financially collapsed, and got past that too. It fucked with me for some considerable time. I avoided gay people, but eventually conceded in my own mind that gay people weren't responsible for his actions, and now have many gay friends that I love dearly. I avoided meeting girls and women as I felt I was soiled goods, but eventually met a number of lovely women who were part of my life. I became insular and introverted, but eventually learned to be sociable and a little more outgoing. I never told my parents. I wonder how different life might have been had I done so. My parents are divorced, and my mom used to tell me to ask my dad for money, for my hobbies, activities, etc. I never told her I stopped doing that when I was 15, because I was told that I was the reason his wife couldn't buy herself anything nice. It was as all complete and utter bullshit. I skipped college for like 4 months. I was studying to become an English translator. The first month there was so fucking bad, I couldn't stand the subjects. And as I hadn't finished high school yet, exams left, I could not keep going to college anyways. So I spent the next months pretending I was going to class, while actually taking really long bus trips back and forth and reading books near the river. It's the douchiest thing I've done, and I can't let my parents know. Add it for some context. It was a public college anyways, but my parents wanted me to get a degree and a job as fast as possible. We're pretty poor and have been without internet since my parents divorced, posting from my phone. Grew up with parents who were divorced. Lived with my mom and stepdad. Dad was a crack-touch cokehead, but took me every few weekends, and I loved him very much still. At 14, my stepdad was killed, and my mom became an absent closet alcoholic. My dad got his shit together for me, so he spent 2 years in a live-in rehabilitation home, and my mom left me alone in our family home from ages 14 to 16 to pursue a new relationship in a town hours away. I kept them up to date on my good grades and fun extracurricular sports and whatnot, but I was lying. I fell into hard drugs and became addicted to coke and MDMA and alcohol. I stole food so I could eat, but I also stole clothes and makeup and alcohol and everything else I wanted solely because I wanted it. I tried to kill myself multiple times, all in under 2 years. I don't plan on telling either of them that. I'm from the UK. When I was 16, I was holidaying in Mexico and ended up banging this American girl. Flew home and obviously thought that's that. We literally live thousands of miles away. I'll never hear from her again. I'm 25 now, and 2 years ago I got a message on Facebook from her saying that she got pregnant and had the baby, and that I have a son. She sent me some pictures, and he does actually look like me. I wouldn't even consider telling my parents about this until I have absolute proof that the kid is mine, but even then it would break their hearts to know they have a 9-year-old grandson they never saw. At the minute, I'm kind of just playing it by ear. Update. While I appreciate the sentiment of most of your comments, please try and appreciate the difficulty of my situation. Being this far away really does cause a lot of problems, and it's just scary to be honest. However, the majority of you were right. I did need to do something. So I went and found an American company that will collect a DNA sample from me in London, and then conduct the paternity test in the US, and send the results individually to both me and her, so I guess I really did just need to get off my arse and do something. I suppose I'll be finding out sooner, rather than later. I used to live in a haunted house when I was younger. My brother and I still talk about it to this day. Long story short, a lot of weird things kept on happening. But one day before school, my mom unlocked her brand new Suburban, only to find the whole leather interior scribbled with what looked like red Sharpie. No signs of break-in, nothing was stolen. It was locked beforehand. Me and my brother were grounded for months until I got sick of it and took the blame. A couple of years later, they tell us about how a man died in the house right in the center of the living room, right before we moved in. I always saw strange lights in there. For the cherry on top, my mom told me how I always played with my other family. I stopped doing that after we moved out. Can't really bring up now because I'll sound crazy. I'm a white-collar executive and make more money than both my parents. Here are the 3 things I haven't and will never tell them. First, I pay my sister's mortgage payments. Second, my mother thinks her company gave her a lucrative retirement package. The reality is that I gave her boss the entire amount so she could retire at 60. I have smoked weed every day for the last 15 years and will never stop. Voiced by Reddit Rabbit. Thank you for watch. Write your secret from your parents in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It helps us grow.